Welcome to Best Practices Teacher Tips. Our topic today is assessing dual language learners in George's Pre-K. This video will help you understand key factors to consider when assessing the dual language learners in your class, including understanding the value of building the child's home language, how language develops in dual language learners, strategies to support language learning, and tools to refine your observation skills for WSO. It's important that parents understand that their role is critical in the educational success of their young children.
Ondersteboven, kijk, hier staat erbij ondersteboven. En ik breng een beetje terug naar de korf. En ik zeg de kabouter Ben Miel. Ik ben de bijenkabouter. Ik zorg voor de bijtjes en voor de korf. Kabouter Miel neemt Plop en zijn vrienden mee binnen in de korf. Oh, kijk eens hier.
Daar was ik.
Ja?
Daar is papa.
Oh, ben ik dat?
En dat is ook. En de next page.
Dat is mama.
Nee, de next page. De queen is de mama.
Ah, de queen.
Nee, papa.
Dat is een papa, dat lijkt me een goede papa. De kabouters kijken hun ogen uit in de korf. Overal vliegen er bijen en zijn zo ijverig aan het werk. Dit zijn de honingraten, wijst de kabouter Miel.
As the child continues to lay a strong foundation in his home language, the benefits are great across academic areas, and he will often outperform single language speakers on critical thinking skills, concept development, and knowledge of language skills. Research has demonstrated that when young children lack the opportunity to learn and practice concepts in their home language, their progress may continue to lag behind their peers throughout their years in school. In order to help young dual language learners develop to their fullest potential, it's important that they understand and use their home language in the classroom as well. Encourage family members, interpreters, or volunteers to visit the classroom and communicate with the child in the home language, reading stories, rhyming, and singing songs. Through this support, you're developing a link between the home and school that will help the child grow and learn throughout the year. Building strong concepts and vocabulary in the child's home language lays a foundation for learning English.
מרגיש קטן וקצת מסכן ומתחיל להיות לו עצוב. כן! אתה רוצה סוכריית נשיקה? שואל זוזו. הקטנטן מפסיק לבכות מיד. מה זה? זה כמו מדבקות כאלה, אומר זוזו. אבל במקום ציור יש עליהן נשיקה. הנה, תפתח את הנייר, תיישר אותו ותדביק לך ללחי.
For many young dual language learners, entering George's Pre-K may be their first exposure to the English language. Environmental print, books on shelves, CDs played during large group, as well as the names of teachers and children may be difficult to understand. In Preschool 4, the Language and Literacy for English Language Learners, ELL, rationale states that there is a wide range in English language acquisition exhibited by children entering your class. Some children may only use their home language and may not understand that you may not know what they are saying. If there are other children in the class who speak their home language, they will often socialize and communicate with these peers. These children would be rated as not yet for the indicator C1, speaks in social situations. Keep in mind that all children in your class who hear a second language at home are rated on the WSO ELL indicators.
Du bist dran.
Mama.
Was? Oh nein. Okay.
Jetzt bin ich dran.
Wie ich? Ich bin ja blau.
Und dann komme ich.
Ich bin blau.
blau.
Ich bin gelb. Achso, ja, gelb. Okay.
Ja.
Ich bin rot. Okay, habe ich vergessen.
Oh nein. Oh nö.
Was sagt die Maya nochmal?
Oh nö. Yes.
These children are what we call sequential second language learners. That is, they are learning a second language after being exposed to their home language. The brain is organized differently in sequential dual language learners as compared to children who speak only one language or those who have learned 2 or more languages at the same time from birth. Children who speak a single language or have learned more than one language since birth generally have the language center in the left hemisphere of the brain. Sequential dual language learners use both the left and right hemispheres of the brain to store and recall words and sentences. Because some dual language learners store language differently in the brain, you may notice some children struggling to think of words rapidly when speaking in their newly acquired language. That is, they may demonstrate word-finding difficulties. These word-finding difficulties are similar to those observed in young children with certain types of communication delays. Their knowledge of some concepts may only be stored in one of the languages being learned. A child may only be able to recall certain words in one of the languages she is learning.
Weißt du, solche Flugzeuge
Ja.
mit so Advertisements?
Ja.
Es gibt ein Mini-Advertisement Ribbon mit Tesafilm dran, der gut klebt. Zu allem und das kann man an eine Fliege tun.
Whenever possible, it's important to assess the dual language learner in both her preferred language as well as English. Keep in mind that all children are rated on the 65 main WSO indicators, no matter what their home language is. For English-only children, all ELL indicators would be rated as NA. As a teacher, you need to understand how sequential dual language learners in your class acquire a second language. This will help you know how to support learning as well as collect evidence for WSO. A silent period may emerge as the child begins to realize that his words and language are not understood by you or most others in his class. WSO rationales describe this behavior in 2 indicators in the ELL section. ELL A.1 gains meaning by listening, as well as in C1, speaks in social situations. Each of these observations is rated as not yet. Following the silent period, children begin to use short phrases and simple greetings. These children begin to use social and functional phrases such as, "Hey," "please," or "look here." They may repeat words and phrases heard in the classroom. This child would be rated as in process on WSO indicator ELL C.1, speaks in social situations. Sequential dual language learners may begin to decrease their understanding and use of their home language as skills emerge in English. This is typical if they are receiving instruction in only English. Code switching or mixing both languages when speaking is a normal part of language development of dual language learners. They may code switch because they hear the English being used in this way by adults in their community, or they lack sufficient vocabulary in the newly acquired second language. Learning a second language is not as easy as you may think, even for young children. Learning the rules, the grammar, and vocabulary of the second language takes time, practice, and support. These children must also understand how the new words and grammar are used in the new culture in which they are immersed. According to Castro, it is myth that young children learn to speak and understand English with native-like proficiency as if by magic, by simply placing them in English-only speaking environments. As with any child, dual language learners are a broad group of individuals. One size does not fit all. Like your English-only children, dual language learners will need multisensory learning experiences to acquire and use their new language in meaningful ways. As you know, effective communication includes sending accurate verbal information as well as supporting it with nonverbal clues. The WSO-ELL indicator speaks clearly enough to be understood by others without contextual clues, gives an example of a child using sign language as a way to demonstrate knowledge of this indicator. Using nonverbal clues, including signs and gestures, can be an effective manner of communicating with both family members and young children. However, we must first understand that some signs and gestures may be truly American and misinterpreted by those from other cultures or nations. Let's take a look at a few common forms of nonverbal communication and gestures. Using your hand or finger to gesture, "Come over here, please," may be interpreted as offensive. Some cultures interpret that to mean you're calling a dog, while others simply see you as being rude. In the American culture, patting a child's head is seen as showing affection. Some Asian cultures believe the head is a sacred part of the body. In some Middle Eastern cultures, touching a person of another gender is viewed as inappropriate. In American culture, smiling represents happiness as well as being social and friendly. Some other cultures see Americans smiling as being fake. In American culture, having appropriate eye contact while speaking or interacting with others is interpreted positively. Research has demonstrated that in some Hispanic, Asian, Middle Eastern, and Native American cultures, eye contact by young children to an adult is thought to be disrespectful or rude. It's common to teach children the following sign for restroom or bathroom. This helps children alert you to their needs without disrupting the group. In some European cultures, this may be misinterpreted as disrespectful. Try this other sign, which is also American Sign Language, for restroom. As you can see, there is much more to understanding and using language than acquiring new words. What we don't say is just as important as what we do say. In addition to using signs and gestures, many other language modeling strategies can support the development of learning and communication for young dual language learners in your classroom. These include self-talk, wait time, parallel talk, and conversational turn-taking. As the name implies, self-talk is talking aloud about your actions while the children are engaged in a learning activity. "I'm reaching high and stretching my arms." When you use self-talk, you give children the chance to hear you attach meaning to your actions. "I'm taking the crunchy snack out of the pan and placing it in the small dish." Wait time, or pausing while speaking with children, allows you to balance your interaction and talk time. "The driver raced down the road and then he went up a long hill." As the child engages with toys or in an activity, you talk to the child, then pause or wait for a response before you continue. Remember, young children need 5 to 10 seconds to process information and respond when talking with you. Parallel talk is a strategy in which you focus on the actions of the child, mapping out what the child is doing using meaningful phrases and sentences. "I see you're rolling the clay into a small circle." To encourage the child to take a conversational turn, you can also use the phrase, "Your turn," or pause and wait and give the child the opportunity to communicate. As you use this strategy, you will notice that children in your class want to have more and more talking time with you. They enjoy having time to share meaningful information when it's their turn to talk. When we have limited or no knowledge of the child's home language, we can feel insecure about collecting evidence for WSO. How can I do this in a manner that provides accurate and reliable evidence? Ideally, it would be to the child's advantage to collect evidence using both the child's home language as well as English. When this is not possible, we must be intentional in using additional strategies to collect evidence about the child. Get to know the child and his family in order to paint a more accurate picture of his abilities. Understanding how language is used at home is an important factor in learning about family values. Does the family only speak the home language? Do they believe that it will limit the child by not immersing him in the American culture?
So First of all, I think, growing up myself in Belgium is not a very large country, and we're surrounded by so many different languages all the time. And I certainly felt, a positive influence of just knowing other languages. And I, coming here just felt natural to begin with, to make sure that, our children would continue to have that language with them. And, on top of that, our parents or their grandparents, they live in Belgium. We've got extended family living there, and I certainly wanted to make sure that they could communicate with them. So it just was a natural decision to do that, and I certainly believe personally that it's good to learn multiple languages. So, I said, why not? I guess the only thing that we ever thought about was, is this going to be an easy transition for them or not? But outside of that, there was no. We know other children are doing it, so it's not a matter of is it possible. So for us, it was just a common sense decision to do that.
To achieve a more accurate assessment for children, it's important to combine authentic assessment measures with parent reporting. How can we begin to build this bridge which will lead to a more accurate collection of WSO evidence? You want to look at WSO not just as a means to collect data, but as a vehicle to determine what to teach. Involve immigrant families in their child's education. Invite parents and community volunteers to participate in your class. Encourage families and volunteers to record or video songs, rhymes, and stories in their home language and share those with your class. Videotape or send pictures home of activities in which their children participate. This helps families see the types of learning activities their child is engaged in. Help parents understand that it's important that their child develop concepts in their home language both in and outside of school, and that this development builds a stronger foundation for learning the English language. Let parents know that recent research has shown that they are able to provide more reliable reporting of their child's vocabulary development than teachers who don't speak the home language. As a teacher, it's important that you interview parents and family members to gain knowledge about concepts you are assessing on WSO, such as rhyming, knowledge of letters and sounds, and understanding counting. Use of technology to immediately translate from English to other languages can also be a useful tool to support communication between yourself and the child's family, as well as between yourself and the child. Search the web to find and download programs and apps to help facilitate translations, but be careful. Like signs and gestures, some words aren't easily translated to other languages. Refining your observation skills is also a key factor for collecting more accurate evidence. Ask questions such as, "What do I already know about this child?" or "What do I want to learn?" Be specific. For example, you want to collect evidence about the child's knowledge of scientific thinking A.1. Asks questions and begins to solve problems that arise during explorations. Review the rationale. Create a Wonder Box to increase the child's interest in an activity. In this Wonder Box, add items related to the focus of your observation, yet of interest to the child. In the Wonder Box, place a pair of child-sized shoes, one laced, the other unlaced. Containers with some lids unscrewed and some screwed on. A flashlight that uses a crank to brighten. Encourage the child to explore the items and document how he attempts to solve the problems placed before him. We hope that these guidelines give you new insight into working with the children in your class. Understanding how the sequential language learner develops and uses English can serve as a tool to help guide both assessment and instruction.